All right, let's dive into something truly fascinating today. For decades, the operations of India's External Intelligence Agency, the Research and Analysis Wing, or R&AW, have been, well, a complete mystery to most.
Uh-huh.
But what if a true insider decided to finally share their story, pulling back the curtain on an organization shrouded in secrecy for, what, nearly 3 decades?
That's precisely the incredible opportunity we have. We're exploring the insights of B. Raman, a former R&AW spy whose book The Kaoboys of R&AW Down Memory Lane offers a remarkably candid and objective look inside. Raman really broke the mold here. Indian intelligence officers traditionally, they just don't write about their experiences. His goal was to provide a clear understanding of R&AW strengths and weaknesses, not for sensationalism, but, well, for the nation's benefit.
Right. So this deep dive isn't just about uncovering classified tidbits, though I suspect we'll certainly have some gripping details.
Oh, definitely.
Our mission really is to give you, our listener, a shortcut to being truly well-informed about R&AW's birth, its evolution, and its inner workings directly from someone who actually lived it.
Exactly.
We're talking surprising facts, complex international dynamics, and the very human stories behind the stoic faces of intelligence.
Absolutely. Raman's unique firsthand perspective is key here. It promises to deliver those aha moments about how India's intelligence apparatus navigated some of its most defining historical periods, from major wars to internal political upheavals and the intricate dance of global relations.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning then. When and why did India decide it needed a dedicated external intelligence agency? Seems like a big step.
Well, R&AW was officially born on September 21st, 1968, under then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Before this, both internal and external intelligence functions were handled by a single body, the Intelligence Bureau, or IB.
IB, right.
But after the 1962 war with China and then the 1965 war with Pakistan, there was a clear realization that India needed a more specialized and, well, focused external intelligence wing.
Makes sense.
So the decision was to bifurcate the IB, giving R&AW its distinct mandate.
And who was the visionary behind this monumental creation? There must have been a key figure.
Oh, absolutely. That would be Rameshwar Nath Kao, R&AW's undisputed founding father. He was a truly legendary figure, apparently admired globally.
Really?
Yeah. He even forged a close friendship with former CIA Director George H.W. Bush, and the head of French intelligence, Alexandre de Morange, spoke of Cao's fascinating mix of physical and mental elegance.
High praise indeed.
Morange has notably observed how Cao almost single-handedly built R&AW into a professional organization that would play a formidable role within just 3 years.
3 years. That's incredible. And a formidable role it was. R&AW's immediate and defining triumph came with the 1971 Bangladesh War. For an agency barely 3 years old, what was its actual mission? And how did it manage to be so effective so quickly in changing the face of South Asia?
Well, its mission was incredibly ambitious, actually. It was fivefold. Providing crucial intelligence to policymakers and the armed forces, training Bengali freedom fighters.
Active training.
Yes, active training. Also building networks with Bengali public servants for information gathering, mounting covert action against Naga and Mizo hostile groups in the Chittagong Hill Tracts, and orchestrating a psychological warfare, or PSY war, campaign targeting the Pakistani leadership to undermine their morale.
Wow. So it wasn't just about collecting information, it was active and multifaceted.
Exactly. And a huge part of their success in 1971 came from R&AW's monitoring and cryptography divisions.
The code breakers.
Precisely. Pakistan's surprisingly poor communications security allowed R&AW to repeatedly break their codes, providing a continuous and voluminous stream of intelligence that was critical to India's war effort.
That must have been invaluable.
Totally. And this period also gave birth to the famous Kaoboys nickname, a testament to the spirit and camaraderie of those who served under Cao's leadership.
Kaoboys. I love that. It captures a real sense of identity and maybe daring.
Absolutely. But, even before R&AW formally existed, Raman points out some intelligence challenges India faced that really underscored the need for such an agency.
Oh, like what?
Well, it wasn't just a sudden decision. He points to early surprises, like the appearance of Chinese muleteers near the border who were later identified as Chinese army and intelligence officers.
Muleteers, really?
Yeah, that was the cover. Then, in 1968, Burma dropped a bombshell revealing that the Chinese Air Force had conducted extensive aerial photography along the Indo-Burmese border for them.
Wow, okay.
That was a real eye-opener for Indian intelligence, demonstrating China's regional reach and the blind spots India had at the time.
Okay, so after these formidable early triumphs and the clear need for its formation, Ramon's account takes a, shall we say, candid turn. He reveals what he calls the rot within.
Yes, he does.
What fundamental lessons does this internal decay, this lack of man management and esprit de corps, teach us about the unique vulnerabilities of an intelligence agency operating in the shadows?
It's a sobering look, isn't it? Ramon's criticisms are incredibly direct. He points to a serious lack of man management and a clear absence of an esprit de corps, particularly in R&AW's later years, which, led to significant morale issues.
Morale is key in that line of work, I imagine.
Absolutely critical. He highlights how the secrecy inherent in intelligence work, without proper internal checks, can breed problems like nepotism and favoritism.
And he doesn't shy away from specific examples, does he? I mean, he names names, figuratively speaking.
Not at all. He mentions that the organization even earned the sarcastic nickname Relatives and Associates Wing.
Ouch.
Yeah, because special posts were apparently created abroad to accommodate relatives of senior officers, like those connected to former Foreign Secretary T.N. Call. This kind of preferential treatment obviously sowed deep resentment and, well, undermined the meritocratic ideals.
Yeah, you can see how that would. And this permissiveness, you mentioned the book, details some pretty shocking incidents.
Yes, Raman describes incidents of alcoholism, gambling, officers simply not returning from foreign postings.
Just
Not coming back.
apparently so. And even serious security breaches. One truly startling example he shares is an Indian Police Service, or IPS, officer, initially on the path to an award, who was actually recruited by the CIA because of an unresolved character flaw tied to a dowry incident 2 decades earlier.
20 years. Wow, think about that for a moment. 20 years later, a personal vulnerability comes back to undermine national security. What does that particular story tell us about the long game of intelligence and perhaps the critical importance of, a deep understanding of human nature in this line of work?
It's a profound lesson, isn't it? It highlights the absolute necessity of rigorous vetting and maybe continuous psychological assessment because personal weaknesses can be exploited over vast periods of time.
It's scary stuff. It shows that the human element is always the weakest link, if not managed with utmost care. The deep-seated unhappiness among junior officers eventually became so bad, it led to an embarrassing staff strike in 1980.
A strike in R&AW.
Yes, revealing just how fractured the organization had become internally.
So internal problems were already brewing, but then came the external political pressures, especially under Prime Minister Morarji Desai. How did his deep skepticism impact an already struggling R&AW?
Well, Desai, who became prime minister in 1977, was indeed deeply skeptical of R&AW. He seemed to believe it had become overly bloated and perhaps even politically weaponized under Indira Gandhi.
Okay.
This led to drastic budget cuts and a significant pruning of R&AW's strength in foreign stations. It even impacted promising projects like their liaison with the French intelligence service.
And those kinds of cuts, especially in intelligence, they have long tails, right? Long-lasting effects.
Absolutely. On capabilities, on morale, everything.
And then when Indira Gandhi returned to power in 1980, it seems the pendulum swung hard the other way.
It did. Her return was marked by what Raman describes as a witch hunt within the organization.
A witch hunt.
That's his term. 4 IPS officers, including R&AW's number 2, were unceremoniously removed due to suspicions of links with the previous government, some of which were apparently just familial connections. This created an atmosphere of fear and distrust, you can imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Perhaps the most tragic consequence of these political shifts, though, was the loss of historical memory.
Absolutely. That's a really key point Raman makes. Kao had this crucial dream of setting up a historical division to document R&AW's role in the 1971 war, to learn from it.
Makes perfect sense.
But it was wound up before completion. And even more concerning, records of secret negotiations with Sikh leaders before Operation Blue Star in 1984, which Indira Gandhi wanted preserved, they simply disappeared by the time Raman retired.
It's gone.
Vanished. That's a significant loss for understanding critical historical decisions, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, shifting our focus to the global chessboard. India's intelligence relationship with the United States was, well, to put it mildly, a paradox. Cooperation on some fronts, but hostility on others.
Yeah.
What was this complicated dynamic all about?
It's a fascinating contradiction, really. While there was cooperation on China, dating back to after the 1962 war, with the U.S. providing equipment and training assistance.
Okay, so some help there.
Yes. but they were consistently unhelpful or even openly hostile when it came to Pakistan. And this was further complicated by the CIA's psychological warfare campaign between 71 and 84, branding Indira Gandhi a Soviet surrogate and disseminating false stories.
While cooperating on China at the same time.
Exactly. Even as other divisions of the CIA cordially cooperated with R&AW on China matters, it was a complex, almost schizophrenic relationship.
Raman certainly pulls no punches when it comes to his personal feelings about this, right?
No, he doesn't. He expresses immense anger and bitterness towards the U.S. State Department, particularly in 1994. He perceived them as constantly meddling in Pakistan's internal affairs and threatening India with sanctions over narcotics allegations in 92. He even recalls an American State Department official who allegedly had a visceral dislike of India, with suspected links to Benazir Bhutto and anti-New Delhi Kashmiri leaders. Raman even suspected her of leaking Indian intelligence reports to Bhutto.
Wow, that's quite an accusation. Beyond the U.S., though, R&AW cultivated some truly unusual alliances. Kao, for instance, initiated a crucial connection with France's SDECE, their external intelligence service, for maritime intelligence on the Indian Ocean. How did that come about?
Yeah, this was a brilliant move by Kao. He clearly understood the strategic importance of the Indian Ocean and sought partners beyond the usual suspects,
Right.
This French connector, led by Count de Maraches, eventually expanded into a trilateral network that even included Iran's SAVAK, the Shah's intelligence service.
Iran, too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's important to remember that even close U.S. allies, like the Shah Iran, felt the need for independent intelligence on U.S. activities in the region. Raman himself had a near miss with a journalist cover in Paris for this liaison, ultimately going under diplomatic cover instead.
And what about Israel? That's often talked about.
Exactly. There was also a secret liaison relationship with Israel's Mossad, their national intelligence agency, established from 1968. This was handled discreetly through R&AW officers in West Europe, primarily to gain insights into West Asia and learn advanced counterterrorism techniques.
So very pragmatic relationships.
Very. And reflecting India's non-aligned but strategically flexible stance during the Cold War, R&AW also maintained strong and productive liaison relationships with Afghanistan's COD, their state security agency, and of course the Soviet KGB.
This complexity is further highlighted by the Khalistan threat. The book reveals how it wasn't just an internal Indian issue, was it?
It's not at all. Raman details how the U.S. National Security Council Secretariat, then under Henry Kissinger, along with Pakistan's ISI, actually initiated a psychological warfare campaign against Indira Gandhi way back in 1971.
In 71, how?
They supported figures like Jagjit Singh Chauhan and disseminated stories about alleged Sikh human rights violations to try and counter India's Bangladesh campaign. They even apparently paid for a New York Times advertisement.
That's a profound revelation. The roots of the Khalistan movement being exploited by external powers so early on.
And it became even more dangerous later when the ISI diverted CIA-supplied funds and arms, originally intended for Afghan mujahideen to fight Soviet troops in the 1980s, directly to Khalistani terrorists.
So the weapons meant for Afghanistan ended up fueling an insurgency against India.
Exactly. It illustrates a very dangerous spillover effect, where methods and materials meant for one proxy war ended up fueling another, directly against India. A real unintended consequence, perhaps.
Okay, now, let's turn to some of those tragic and impactful events. Assassinations and intelligence failures. Indira Gandhi's assassination in 1984 came in the tragic aftermath of Operation Blue Star. What were the critical security failures Raman observed?
Well, one of the most controversial decisions was reinstating Sikh bodyguards after they had been initially withdrawn. This was despite clear security protocols to avoid deploying personnel from aggrieved communities in close proximity duties.
A huge risk, surely.
It seems like it. Raman's personal observations also highlighted what he called very weak physical security at her residence and her inconsistent use of a bulletproof vest, apparently because it made her sweat.
Small details, but with massive consequences.
Absolutely. It was a profound shock to Kao, who felt implicitly let down by these security lapses on his watch. Raman describes it as a heavy, unspoken burden he carried.
I can only imagine. And the failures seemed to just compound with Rajiv Gandhi's assassination in 1991.
Tragically, yes. Raman attributes this largely to the politicization of his physical security by the VP Singh government, which withdrew his Special Protection Group, or SPG, cover.
The SPG cover was removed. Why?
It was seen as a political move at the time, and then the subsequent Chandrasekhar government failed to rectify this critical lapse, leaving him incredibly vulnerable.
But this raises an important question.
Yeah.
Why were the warnings not heeded? Raman himself had apparently repeatedly issued warnings about a growing threat from Sri Lankan Tamil extremist organizations, particularly the LTTE.
He did, yes. But these warnings were largely treated with skepticism by the intelligence community. There was this mistaken belief, it seems, that the LTTE would never harm an Indian leader given India's past support.
A fatal miscalculation.
And the devastating consequences were also exacerbated by interagency rivalry. Apparently, the IB and R&AW failed to pool their respective interception and code-breaking capabilities on the LTTE.
So they weren't talking to each other effectively.
That's what Raman implies, a critical breakdown in coordination at a crucial moment.
Just 2 years later, India faced another major shock, the Mumbai blasts of 1993. Raman calls this moment one of ominous significance in India's counterterrorism fight.
It really was a turning point. It was unexpected mass casualty terrorism that took both police and intelligence agencies completely by surprise. It revealed for the first time this dangerous nexus, the ISI, jihadi groups, and the organized crime mafia, all spurred by the demolition of the Babri Masjid.
And R&AW's role after the blasts.
In the post-blast investigation, R&AW played a critical role. They managed to procure crucial evidence like PIA flight manifests, proof of plain paper visas being issued, evidence of ISI operatives actually receiving the perpetrators at Karachi airport, and tracking their subsequent travel via Dubai and Kathmandu.
So building a clear picture of Pakistani involvement.
Exactly. And the evidence pointing to Pakistan was compelling. The smoking gun, though, was particularly frustrating for Raman.
What was that?
Austrian experts certified that recovered hand grenades were manufactured in a Pakistani government ordnance factory using Austrian technology. Pretty clear cut, right?
Sounds like it.
However, when American experts confirmed that timers found were U.S.-made and had been supplied to Pakistan, the U.S. refused to declare Pakistan a state sponsor of terrorism.
Why not?
They cited leakage into the smugglers' market as the reason. Raman describes his direct confrontation with U.S. officials over what he saw as their over-anxiety to protect Pakistan. He felt this was a defining characteristic of U.S. policy that, in his view, allowed jihadi terrorism to fester globally.
That's a powerful accusation. Do you think Raman's perspective here, shaped by his direct experiences, fully accounts for the complex geopolitical realities the U.S. was navigating at the time? Or is it maybe a more focused, almost personal critique born of frustration?
That's a really critical point. While Raman's account is deeply personal and you can feel the frustration, it does highlight a consistent pattern in U.S. foreign policy that many observers perceived prioritizing strategic alliances, perhaps, over the clear implications of evidence on the ground.
Yeah.
From the perspective of an intelligence officer like Raman, witnessing the direct consequences of these policies, it must have been incredibly difficult to reconcile. It's definitely an important viewpoint for understanding the historical dynamics.
Absolutely. All of this brings us to a fundamental issue that Raman passionately advocated for: accountability. India, uniquely among major democracies, lacks formal parliamentary oversight for its intelligence agencies. What does this mean for you, the citizen?
Well, Raman argues it leads to a lack of public understanding, first off. But more seriously, it allows for unchecked instances of nepotism, favoritism, and the potential misuse of agencies for political ends.
And failures often only surface after a crisis.
Exactly. Failures often only come to light after major security setbacks, like the Kargil War, or when moles like the CIA's Ravinder Singh are discovered. Raman strongly advocated for administrative oversight and at least limited parliamentary monitoring.
Why? What would that achieve?
He argued it would ensure probity and effective performance, fostering better governance and public trust. He believed the intelligence agencies shouldn't be the sole judges of their own performance and integrity. It makes sense, doesn't it?
It does seem logical. Now, Raman's personal journey after retirement is almost as insightful as his account of R&AW itself. He deliberately broke his anonymity, making a conscious decision to write almost one a day on strategic matters. What was his personal philosophy in doing that?
He lived by a philosophy that valued analysis, quick thinking, and, interestingly, risk-taking. Crucially, he emphasized the importance of admitting failures, something rare in that world, avoiding jargon, and giving credit where it's due.
Humility, almost.
In a way, yes. He never asked for physical security, even when openly criticizing terrorists. He found anonymity came naturally and believed in just facing whatever came his way. It speaks to a deep sense of conviction, I think.
And that's a powerful legacy, isn't it? Beyond the specific revelations.
It truly is. He consistently praised the vision of superiors for giving the organization its initial elan and the palpable shape given by junior colleagues. He emphasized R&AW as a living organization that continually grows and learns despite all its challenges and shortcomings.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us? This deep dive into B. Raman's candid account of R&AW's journey isn't just history, is it? It's a testament to the complex, often contradictory world of intelligence.
Definitely not just history.
We've seen an agency born of necessity, achieving remarkable triumphs, yet wrestling with profound internal challenges and navigating a global landscape of shifting alliances and adversaries.
Right, exactly. And it underscores the critical importance of having a well-informed debate about our intelligence agencies, their structures, their accountability, and that delicate balance between necessary secrecy and democratic oversight. It's a powerful reminder that even in the shadows, human decisions, leadership, and integrity, or the lack thereof, have immense consequences, both for the individuals involved and ultimately for national security.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit chilling. B. Raman, reflecting on that consistent U.S. policy of protecting Pakistan, even when faced with overwhelming evidence of its support for terrorism, made a really provocative statement near the end of his book.
No.
He wrote, and I'm quoting directly here, "I do not wish ill of the U.S., but I am convinced in my mind that if there's an act of terrorism in the U.S. homeland involving the use of weapons of mass destruction, WMD, one day, it would have originated from the Pakistani territory. Only then the eyes of the State Department would open fully. That would be a bit too late."
Wow. That's quite the prediction.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the long-term unintended karma consequences, if you will, of prioritizing geopolitical alliances over objective truth in the fight against global terrorism?
A truly sobering thought for you to mull over long after we finish here. Our thanks posthumously, of course, to B. Raman for his extraordinary courage in sharing this memory lane, a vital contribution, really, to understanding the hidden forces that shape our world.